So after a few months of searching, I have finally bought myself a new van. If you're new to the channel, you'll usually find me swanning around the British canals on a narrowboat that I renovated a couple of years ago. So what do I actually need a van for? Well, recently I've actually been working on a wide beam for someone. Now that's come to an end, that's finished. I really enjoyed it. I was using a BMW estate for the build and found it a little bit difficult picking up materials and stuff. And basically I'm hoping to continue working on other people's boats. So I'm thinking of building a part-time camper, part-time works van that I can use for pretty much everything, like a bit of a utilitarian kind of thing. So the van I've gone for is a medium wheelbase Sprinter. It's 2014. It's got the high roof. It's basically what I had before. I've driven these things all over the place, anywhere from the Arctic Circle up through Sweden, Norway, and then down as far south as the very southern point of Italy, through some of the tiniest of villages, through Naples, along the Amalfi Coast. I just really enjoy driving these vans. Once you get used to the size, they're not too bad. I did debate getting a long wheelbase, but they just seem that much more difficult to live with. I'm going to be driving this thing daily. This will just be my car, so I think a long wheelbase probably would have been a bit of a stretch. Yeah, as nice as a built-in shower and everything would have been, I just don't think a long wheelbase is quite justified, really. Now, I've built a couple of vans in the past, but they were both with the sole purpose of living in or being comfortable to live in. I've never made anything multi-purpose before, so it's going to take a little bit of extra thinking, making sure things are durable. Also don't want too many decorative surfaces per se, but I also don't want it to be just like a works van when I'm going away camping. A list of things that are a priority for me, bear with me. It needs to be able to carry full 8x4 sheets of plywood. I'm thinking down this side. I just need to measure to see if that's going to work with the sliding door, which, looking at it might not, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Also want to be able to carry as long a length of timber as possible, which means the bulkhead is going to be coming out this time. I also need a lockable tool safe, a folding bed, potentially a lift up bed, I'm not really sure on that yet. I want a fridge. I need 12 and 240 volt power. Now this van is actually ex-SSE, Scottish and Southern Energy, and they come fitted with an inverter, a leisure battery, both of which I'm going to upgrade anyway, but it's also come with a diesel heater, which I will be keeping, which is handy. I could do with running water of some sort, need solar, definitely want room for mountain bikes and any kind of maybe canoes, I'm not sure. That's how adventurous I'm feeling. I've only had the van for about a week and I've already been roped into picking up a load of concrete blocks and sand for my dad. So I do enjoy that though. It's nice having such a handy vehicle, so I want to make sure that I can keep everything as multi-purpose as possible. Right, I'll give you a quick tour. Not as much to see yet. EcoFlow Delta waiting to go in. EcoFlow have actually very kindly sponsored this video. I'll come back to them in a minute. But that's going to be very handy. This is seat base. I managed to pick up a single passenger seat with a swivel already, ready for when I take the bulkhead out. This is the diesel heater here. Because that's been professionally installed, I'm hoping to be able to leave that in place because there's holes in the floor. There's a diesel line going to it, exhaust and everything. So I'm hoping to leave that in its place. It's not in the way, it's actually on the side of the van that I would have liked it anyway. Because all along the driver's side is where basically my living quarters are going to be. So the bed either along here or up, and then some sort of kitchen area. It's going to be pretty rudimentary because it's going to be part works van obviously, so I can't just have a full-blown kitchen as nice as it would be. But on my previous Sprinter, I actually left the bulkhead in. Well, I made an insulated bulkhead, took this one out and made an insulated one. But just taking this out is going to open up the space, and then rather than having a separate seating area, I'll be able to swivel both the seats together and have like a lagoon table in between them. So that'll save a lot of space in the medium wheelbase. You need to be a bit more strict, I think, on what you actually need or what your priorities are. Worktop kind of area along here, and then I'm going to measure now how much room I've got for 8x4 sheets. It's not the end of the world if when they're in that they sort of interfere with the sliding door, because they'll be loaded from the back anyway, and it's literally only going to be to pick them up and take them to customers' boats or whatever. So yeah, I'm actually going to start stripping this out in a second, which I'm really excited for. I think bulkhead I'm just looking at all that wiring I'm going to have to take off as well. That's going to have to come off. I'll show you up in the cab first. It's a shame to have to take out the twin seats, especially because they're the sort of half faux leather. And under them is a factory installed leisure battery, which is great, but the battery I'm putting in is just not going to fit in there, I don't think. Gonna take the inverter off first, then take off the wiring, then about 100 bolts of screws holding the bulkhead in, some down in the cab. It's all coming back to me. Oh, that's still live. I was disconnected. Let me disconnect the leisure battery first before I blow myself up. Wanna do? I'm not going to film the whole thing, don't worry. I think I've got all of the bolts out around the top and sides. Now the next one's all down in the floor, but to get to them you have to get behind the seat. So the passenger seat's got to come out anyway. But before I do that, I need to disconnect the battery because there's a sensor in there, I think. If I just unplug it, it's going to flag up a seatbelt warning light on the dash, then I have to get that turned off. So I disconnect the battery, leave it a sec, probably make a coffee, and then come back and unplug it. I think it's just a few bolts, like front and back, holding it in. That's the sensor for the seatbelt. They're not normally this difficult, but because of the battery tray for the leisure battery, you've got to kind of tilt it. But it's so heavy. Hang on. Can I have a hand, please? Good diving. So, slight dilemma. Because this has a factory fitted leisure battery, it's got a little bracket for the battery I said about. A single base doesn't fit on top of it, and it's actually welded in. So I'm going to have to get the grinder out at some point. But for now, I'm not going to have time this evening to pop the double seat back in for another reason actually as well. So I'll grind that out tomorrow. But this little sensor that stops the SRS light coming on, I was hoping to be able to plug straight into my new single seat, but that one doesn't have a plug. So what you can do is buy an emulator which plugs into this, that wire then tucks away, and it just stops that light coming on. So I'm going to order one of those, which means, yeah, I'll pop the double seats back in a sec. Just giving it a clean up, taking some more of the cables away, and yeah, I'm just going to pack up now, and then I've got a full day on this tomorrow. So I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. Just been down to the scrapyard with Dad. Dropped off the bulkhead that I took out yesterday, along with a few other bits. But what I really wanted to do was just get the van on a weighbridge. So empty, with just me and Dad sat in the cab, which you'd normally have two people in the van anyway when you're going on trips and stuff. Coming at 2.5 tons. which gives me a ton to play with. I'm going to try and keep the weight down as much as possible, because even once this is converted, I still need to be able to carry sheets of plywood and stuff for customers and any other materials. So I want to keep it as light as possible. I've got a few ideas to make that possible, such as a lithium battery rather than lead acid and a few other bits like that. But yeah, this morning I'm just going to clear the floor off because it's a bit dirty again, and then talk about some layout stuff with you. I think maybe get a better idea of what I'm doing, and then I'll start stripping all of this off. Always fun taking it apart, less fun putting it back together. So as I said before, I'm hoping to keep this side completely free for anything like bikes, plywood, timber. So an 8x4 sheet of plywood, it's only going to be in here whilst I take it to site, and it's going to come to 8 foot kind of finishes halfway along the floor there in the doorway. And then this side behind the driver's seat I'm going to keep free for kind of utilities, worktop, and a kind of power station in the corner. Now I'm going to keep room for not one but 2 EcoFlows. Thanks to EcoFlow for sponsoring this week's video, by the way. So I'm hoping to use the Delta 2 Max and the Delta Pro, not only to partially power the van when I need, but also to be able to remove them and take them on site, because I've been using the Delta Pro during the wide beam build, and honestly I don't think I could have done the build without it, without having a generator running all day, burning tons of petrol. That thing's been crazy good, with the wheels taking it along the towpath and stuff, just so handy. The Delta 2 Max, the one on top, that one alone will power up to 3100 watts. It takes like an hour to charge via mains. Both got Life PO4 batteries in, and yeah, I could probably power the whole van just on the Delta 2 Max, to be honest, but I'm just being greedy, and more is more. But yeah, the fact that I can take them out and then use them on site to power tools. The Delta Pro, the bigger one, I actually used that probably last 2 or 3 days whilst I was building the wide beam. That's running a table saw, a chop saw, and most importantly a kettle, like a full-blown house kettle, which is nearly 3000 watts on its own. Thing's an absolute beast. So I want to come up with a rack where they can sit and charge via the van, because they both come with basically got 3 ways of charging them. You can charge via solar, which would be cool if I can come up with like a way of not converting, but switching over from the van's solar charging them to their own EcoFlow solar panels charging them. That'd be quite cool. I can charge via the van's engine using their little cigarette socket cable that comes with them, and then obviously via mains. The Delta 2 Max takes about an hour to charge, and I think the Delta Pro takes like an hour and a half or something via mains, which for how much power you get out of them is really quite crazy, really. So yeah, really excited to figure out a rack for those. I know quite a few of you have reached out that have actually bought an EcoFlow and have been really happy with them. They're actually running a spring campaign from the 18th of March till the 29th of April, with up to 42% off. So if you use the link in my description and use my code, you'll be able to get another 8% off that as well. But yeah, gonna have a little figure out how much room I've got, and also need to figure out the bed scenario. I've had a slight change of mind, or like another option I've thought of. So to keep enough height in for the plywood, I need to allow 4 foot off the floor. About here. And my other option of, rather than having a folding bed, which is going to be quite complicated, is going to have enough room beneath it. Yeah, bit of a headache. I could just put another fixed bed in like I did on the first Sprinter, but just make sure it's high enough to allow 4 foot beneath, but then you're going to not be able to sit up in bed obviously, but it's just another compromise. That means all of this can be clear. I'm putting a tool safe in down this side. Four foot's here. By the time you put a mattress on, you have this much room roughly. Just under 2 foot What's the total height? Gonna have about 2 foot of headroom above the bed if I do that. That's definitely an option. Right, I'm gonna start taking all the panels off. Get ready then for insulation, sound deadening, and then ply lining. Oh, I need to put some windows in as well. There's a lot to do. There's always a lot to do. So that's all the panels removed. Now I need to take the floor up because I'm going to put some sound deadening on underneath and give it all a clean. I think the only thing stopping me is the diesel heater, which I think is going to be bolted through the floor, and I don't really want to take it out, so I'm just going to see. I'm going to take this ugly cover off and see what it looks like underneath, basically. All that cover for that. Oh, we might get lucky and be able to. I can see what it looks like underneath, I think. If it's going to be easy enough to unbolt, I'll take it up so I can take all the floor up. But I do want this, especially without a bulkhead in, I want this van to be as quiet as possible. We've got a load of dodo mat on the way. We'll have to do the whole van, so yeah. Let's see what that looks like underneath. Diesel here. That looks like the diesel here. Oh, that's the exhaust just snapped. Get a new one of those. Snap again. I'll change that over. That's the air in. Here's the fuel line. So I probably will just pop up. I can't see any bolts through the actual bottoms. I think it's just screwed to the plywood. I could just disconnect. All it is disconnect the fuel line. Take these two off, which I can replace anyway. Pretty clean under here though. Not bad. The size of the fuel tank. Nice if I can get something. Oh, rain. Right, that's the floor up, brushed, scrubbed. I'm going to call it a day because I'm shattered. It's like 5 o'clock, 5:30. And then tomorrow, give all this a clean, Need to rip down the old sound deadening from the ceiling, give that a clean, and just get it, yeah, clean. Word of tomorrow is clean. And then start ordering some bits that I need. Yeah. Right, I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. So I started to wash the inside of the van. I've done the back doors. It's so bloody cold and it's taking a bit longer than expected. I'm running out of time this week. Need to shoot up and sort some bits out on the boat. So I'm going to call it a week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons. And yeah, I'll see you next week for either van or boat updates. Thank you. Bye.